Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another podcast. Podcast number 20, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like just
yes, only yesterday
that we did the first one.
How you all doing? Hi. We have very lame stats for you this week because we saw a few movies, so we were out.
Yes,
and
we were out and about.
And we also were catching up to an old season of a show that we're going to tell you about today, actually. So we don't have that many shows that we've tallied, but we tallied 7, and out of which only 2 were directed and 2 were co-written or co-written, so a little under 30%, which is interesting when the sample is smaller. That's when you really,
you have less opportunity. That's all.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, it's all serendipitous.
Shouldn't be.
I know, but it is.
So, what do we have to tell you about this week? We have quite a bit to tell you about this week, actually. The first, starting with somebody that Jane Fonda, I've loved you so long.
Yes. I've been a fan too. I don't love her to the degree that you do, but I do sort of now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now, the more you learn about her, the more you appreciate her and respect her.
Well, the older she's gotten, the more I've loved her.
Well, and I think that this is exactly what this movie shows you. This is a documentary. It's an HBO documentary. It's called Jane Fonda in 5 Acts. And it's right now in select theaters, I guess, and festivals and things. But it is going to be on HBO September 24th, directed by Susan Lacey, a woman. So if you've read the memoir, Jane's memoir, which I've recommended many times, but if you haven't, the movie is actually, I think, I wouldn't say necessarily a better experience, but a different experience, because a lot of it is still through her eyes, but you get to see so much of the candid footage.
It's put in historical perspective with all kinds of clips, and you see her grow up. You see her. Oh, she was so beautiful. My God,
she still is.
Oh yes, but she was just almost preternaturally beautiful. She was so shiny and new when she was young. Unbelievable. And she has a much more interesting story than I think many of you probably imagine. Absolutely, because even I sort of, was living my life not quite in tandem. She's almost 10 years older than I am, but still. And I remember events from her life. I remember a lot of the things they talk about. I saw almost all of her movies, but it was still only a surface knowledge, really.
Yes, I think, well, first of all, there are a lot of things that just by looking at her you would never know. When she was out running and protesting and being an activist, you would never know that she was starving herself and was on speed at the time, because you would never be able to tell that.
And we weren't conscious of those things.
That's also true. I think people saw her father and loved her father and never knew
I didn't love her father.
Well, a lot of people did, though, and they would never have any kind of idea as to what the home life was. They would never know what the story with her mother was.
I didn't know anything really about her mother, but I seem to have always known about her conflict with her father.
Yeah.
He was such a cold man. That's why I didn't like him as an actor. He was just cold.
Well, the 5 acts were very interesting because, and also if you've read the book, you know that Jane describes a lot of, I think, problems that many women face, especially, of course, women of her generation,
right.
But many women to this day of having to please especially men in their lives,
to define themselves. They end up defining themselves by the men they're with.
That's a very good way to say it. And of course, as she has grown into herself, she now defines herself on her own.
We live in a society where that's encouraged, at least by other women.
Yes, but you definitely see the path that she's had to take, the struggles and the self work that she had to put in to get here. It's not just because she all of a sudden got permission.
No.
And I think that every woman especially, but everybody can be inspired by this film. I think she's a very inspiring person.
She's so highly intelligent.
And she's so honest and open. I mean, she doesn't try to hide away the ugly things. What was that?
No, I don't know.
You dropped the book. Anyway, I can't recommend it more. It also shows you the history of this country in a glimpse.
Exactly.
Activism, sexism.
And there's a lot of history of film from the 60s.
Definitely. And film, you see a lot of the film that comes out of an era represents a lot of the culture of that era. And especially Jane, who, Barbarella and all that notwithstanding, after that, starting with Clute, she really has been making a lot of films that had to do with things that she had to say, like Coming Home about the Vietnam War, like 9 to 5 about the women in the workplace.
Inequality, right?
For just examples, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Though that was a little later of the time, but still, I mean, there are echoes of these things that are still relevant.
They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Was sort of a turning point. I think,
that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
That's when she took off her wig from They Shoot Horses, all of a sudden she felt.
That pretty
hair,
blonde,
that beautiful, wasn't her anymore.
Yeah, and that's when she got what became the Clute haircut. Yeah. So first of all, if you haven't seen some of her movies from the 70s, especially, just go back and watch. They're so
Every
good.
one of them is a great film, or at least an interesting film.
Yeah, if you need any specific recommendations, come to me. I'm always happy to share the Jane Fonda.
And I just want to say that in the movie they don't mention, because I guess maybe they think of it as a throwaway, but it's a film that I adored, The Morning After, which is a mystery, but it's also about alcoholism and
we should also mention
valuing yourself, and
we should also mention the China syndrome.
They mentioned the China syndrome.
No, we should mention here.
Oh, yeah.
That just if you haven't seen it, you should.
I forgot that it was Jane Fonda.
And of course, if you're not watching Grace and Frankie, you should be watching Grace and Frankie. Man. Yes. So, and you really appreciate also, I know that she's the activism part was controversial, but I think
you understand where it's coming from a lot more. It was coming from a much purer place than she was actually sort of a dupe.
Well, don't forget that the media likes to just make everything much more sensational looking than it is. And then there's a person behind it who usually gets death threats for it. So I really think that you should watch it, even if your opinion on her is kind of not necessarily favorable. I think you will like her when you see this movie.
If she had done that now, she would never her career would never recover because of social media and the press. It would have been over.
Well, Jane Fonda in 5 acts on HBO, September 24th. Highly, highly recommend.
Highly recommended.
Now, we're going to recommend a show that we're actually not that certain how you can watch, but we really think it's worth you looking into it. So first of all, if you're a Brit, you can definitely find it on demand. But if you're anywhere else, I mean, listen, I actually got the recommendation from my mom in Israel. They have it on their television, on their cable. So it's called Come Home, and it's a BBC one, a British 3-episode miniseries written by Daniel Brocklehurst and directed by Andrea Harkin.
Yay, a woman.
Yes.
And it stars Christopher Eccleston, Paula Malcolmson, who you'll know, and Carrie Quinn.
The reason that we're recommending it, even though we don't necessarily know how you can find it, though I know some of you are very crafty and can find things, is because it deals with a lot of important subject matters, and it doesn't try to solve or resolve anything in this is the right way, this is the wrong way. It basically just says we're all human.
This is what is, and
we're not bad people, Harj.
No,
we're just flawed humans, and also
some of these things we can't help.
Right. So there's also the premise is that this woman who has 3 kids leaves her husband, moves away, and doesn't want to have kind of anything to do with them until she does again. We find out that there was a problem with postpartum depression. There was a problem with an entrapment. That she didn't want to have a 3rd child, and her husband decided for her that they were going to have a 3rd child. This is an island, by the way.
Irish Catholics.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think it's a very important story to tell about, how not all women are natural mothers. Not all women want to have kids, and not all women, want to have a lot of kids. She had 2 kind of mature kids.
Yes, she thought she was done with babies.
Yes,
and all of
going
that.
back to what she wanted to do with her life, rather than put everything on hold to be a wife and a mother. And also, postpartum depression is a very important element. Yes. Here's a play again. But I liked that it really, I really liked the ending. I liked that it was really about just humans trying to understand and be compassionate toward one another and try to just get along. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very good show.
It was a very good show. The Brits know how to do everything.
Everything, yeah. Comedies, nah.
But I don't like their comedies either. Their comedies are really stupid in general. But when it comes to drama and mysteries and period pieces, they are really aces, man.
Come Home, the miniseries, BBC One, look it up. Now,
to my new obsession. Oh my God! If I could have sat and watched 12 episodes in a row, I would have done it.
We practically did.
Not quite. We still have a couple to go. So, anyway, it's Jack Irish. It's
an Australian
show starring Guy Pearce, Marta Dusseldorp.
What
did I call her?
Marsa.
Oh, Marsa. What is her name? Marta Dusseldorp.
You might know her as Janet King.
Yeah, if I could get the Dusseldorp out, I'm surprised I couldn't get the Marta out. Kate Atkinson in a hilarious role. She is so funny. Claudia Caravan, who I didn't really know but loved. Yeah. And in season 2, Danielle Cormack.
Yeah.
Looking quite yummy. And we've just seen 2 episodes from that season, but we know that she's in all of them.
Now, I just want to mention that season 2 is playing in Australia right now, but you can watch season 1 and part of season 2 that's already aired on our favorite streaming service, Acorn TV.
We love Acorn TV.
Now, this is based on novels by Peter Temple. But and there are 3 movies that were older, not really older, but like from about 8 years ago, 6 years ago.
Oh, they were terrible. The first one we didn't watch the other 2 because we just couldn't barely get through the first half hour.
It was so old fashioned.
Yeah, it was like something from the 70s. Yeah, it really was. Weird. It was like an old Magnum PI or something, but not that sophisticated. I don't know. It just was not. Yeah. And then the series is completely so different. Dark, so complex, so ironic. Oh, yes, right.
One of the creators of the series is somebody you might know. His name is Andrew Anastasios, and he's a regular writer on Wentworth. So that explains part of it. It was also created by Andrew Knight and Matt Cameron.
The writing is so good. It's so clever also. It's a very witty drama, besides being very violent.
Well, let's tell them what it's about.
Oh, okay. You tell them what it's about.
Well, Jack Irish used to be a lawyer.
Yes, a very successful lawyer.
Right, and he turned into kind of a debt collector, all sorts of
I think that was after his wife was murdered by a client.
Right. He becomes this, he's kind of a guy for hire for whatever you need to find, whoever you need to find, whatever you need to do. But he stumbles into all these mysteries, and these mysteries are usually have to do with big corporations, big money. Big religious institutions.
Yes, taking advantage of
the little people.
Yeah, the very littlest of people, all over the world.
Right.
I mean,
it's not contained.
It's just
in
it's just pure evil people.
And Marta Dusseldorp is his kind of on and off girlfriend. She's a journalist.
Mostly off by this point. Yeah. So I think in the movies maybe they were together more.
She is a journalist, and she has her own storylines that oftentimes intersect with his.
Right.
But it's a very, all of these, again, intricate webs. And they're very, like this, the second season especially, is very creepy.
Very, very creepy. And they're so well plotted, too, because sort of the way he stumbles into this particular storyline is very clever.
Yeah.
And
it's not just, like a forced...
No, it's really, really, really an intricate puzzle.
You might be hearing cicadas, sorry.
Please, it was cicadas, birds. I'm surprised we don't have wolves howling outside the window, though I would love that. Thank you, Liron.
You just told them it was me.
Oh, dear. I'm sure they were very impressed that we had wild wolves outside our door in Martha's Vineyard. But really what I say about every 3.5 minutes is this is so well written.
Yeah.
Their cultural references, it's just spot on.
It's very sharp.
It's very sophisticated, and it's got humor. Mm-hmm. It's it's just great. Guy Pearce is wonderful. He's gotten so seedy, Guy Pearce, but he's really terrific. He's a great central character.
And I love seeing, I'm sure you guys have seen Danielle Cormack in other things. I haven't. I've only seen her as B until now. And so I loved seeing her as somebody else. She's very appealing.
Very appealing. And I love to see her as a sophisticate. And
I think she's going to have a major role. And Kate Atkinson is the opposite of Vera.
She is so... her character sort of makes me think of what she's like when you see her off camera, because she always seems to be having fun and she's always kind of goofy. But especially in the second season, she is absolutely a scream, and they write for her very, very imaginatively and hilariously.
Yeah,
she plays a computer expert.
I actually wish we could see more of her. I wish we could see more of her own life. She's more of his sidekick, and you see a little bit of her life, but not enough. I would have wanted more.
She's very charming, and I just can't recommend it more. I'm absolutely devouring it, and Liron has to just put her foot down and say, okay, we're going to watch one more, and then we have to watch, one of our favorite many shows. Yes. And I just want to watch.
We're almost.
I just want to watch Jack Irish.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, if you're Aussie, it's on television right now, and if you're anywhere else, I think. Well, I don't know if Acorn is anywhere else, but if you're near America,
we get Acorn here. It's a streaming service.
All right. So Acorn TV. If you haven't subscribed yet, they have treasures,
and it's a bargain. Acorn, by the way.
Now, we wanted to talk to you about a show that we reviewed after its first episode, and now that it's been a few weeks later, we really have a little bit more to say.
And a little bit more better.
Well, a little more of a recommendation.
Yes, absolutely.
It's Sharp Objects, the HBO show from Marty Noxon, starring Amy Adams, Patricia Clarkson, and the upcoming Eliza Scanlon, who is fantastic.
She's going to be something.
Definitely. And at the beginning, after the first episode, we recommended it, but told you also that it was hard to watch.
Oh, it was so depressing, and it's still so depressing.
But it's
so good. It's so fascinating. It's so twisty, and it's so creepy, but it's also got heart, and it's got and it's a horrible portrait of small town people in the Midwest and the South. Missouri is sort of on the border,
but it
feels very Southern.
To the Bone notwithstanding, which was awful, one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm very proud of Marty Noxon, both for Dietland and for Sharp Objects, for managing to talk about hard things,
hard topics, especially that affect women.
Yes, like self-harm, cutting, alcoholism, eating disorders, in a very, very, I think, very. It's not. It's always tricky because the temptation of making it provocative and kind of porn-like seems to be where everybody falls. The pitfalls that everybody goes.
This shows you the pain and the need and the origins of why these, especially Camille, her need to do what she does to herself, and all you have to do is meet her mother. First of all, I mean, there's a tragedy in her past, of course. But Patricia Clarkson, who plays the Gorgon of all mothers, but in her in a very
subliminal way.
Aggressive, passive way that she has. She's just, I find her to be totally repellent. And
I think because it's Patricia Clarkson, she's so good at playing these roles
and she plays them a lot.
Because there is still something
creepy
but appealing about her.
She's always appealing.
She's never just a caricature of a woman who is, just bad.
Every once in a while she'll let an emotion that you can relate to come through, and also she's so interesting to look at, and she's so intelligent. Everything she does is so steeped in intelligence. You can't help but be attracted to her while you're being repelled by her.
I think that's her secret.
It's a very push me, pull me kind of a thing.
I would have liked to have seen more of Elizabeth Perkins. I haven't had enough of her yet, and I love her character.
I feel that there's history that we need to know about her.
Yeah.
She's...
Well, and also her character is such a breath of fresh air in that town, and I think we could have had more of her.
That town is like a stagnant pond. And...
So if you haven't figured it out yet, we really recommend it.
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm suspecting it's going to be...
so good, but don't watch it if you're depressed. give yourself, record it and then wait for a night when you're in good cheer and you can follow it up.
That is very funny what you just said. If you're depressed, you don't have nights that are cheerful.
Well, sometimes. I mean, if you're having... No, I don't mean if you're clinically depressed.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you're...
Don't watch it if you're blue.
I'm not clinically depressed, but I have, days when I'm depressed.
I think, though, that the first episode was really by far the most depressing. I feel that afterwards...
Yes, because it set the stage and it just hit you over the head.
Well, because then you don't yet...
steeped in
and you don't
her
yet
pain.
know all the aspects. She also has humoristic aspects.
Yes.
She has, you don't know that there is love, there is some comfort to be found, there's some hope. It's not all just that, and the interesting budding relationship she has with her sister,
her half sister, is so fascinating.
Yeah. So Sharp Objects on HBO, go and binge. Well, don't binge; that could be a little too much.
No,
but
I wouldn't binge on Sharp Objects. I think that it would be like eating too rich food, too much of it at once.
Now, finally, you wanted to say a little bit something?
Yes. I have not been able to do what I want to do because there's too much to watch, but I'm very drawn to Black Mirror, and we decided last year to watch San Junipero because it had so many nominations, and it was about lesbians, and and we loved it. So this, I decided that since Black Museum was nominated for several things, and that I would catch up with that too, that I would find time for it. And it's really a fascinating... I'm not going to tell you about it, just if it's creepy and it's amazing, and it's a combination of technology and... anyway, it stars Letitia Wright, who was the younger sister in Black Panther. She's quite marvelous. And the always wonderful Douglas Hodge, and a couple of other characters in smaller roles. It builds to a very interesting conclusion, satisfying, and it's creepy as hell, and I found it fascinating. I recommend it if you like creepy as hell things about technology. What I find Black Mirror seems to do also is they do that thing where there's a lot of technology, but they still drive oldish cars, and it looks like it's the present. And it's anyway, Black Museum, very interesting. Very provocative Black Museum of Black Mirror. It's this season. I think it's season 4. It might be the last episode, but anyway, just go check it out. It's on Netflix. And
okay, Black Museum, the episode from Black Mirror, the series.
Yeah.
Okay, so just we want to tell you now that we're going to not do a podcast for the next 3 weeks. We're taking a little hiatus from the podcast because what we want to do instead, since it's the waning days of summer, or at least of summer television.
Yes.
And now we're gearing up for fall. So
the glut of fall.
So what we want to do is for the next 3 weeks on Saturday when you usually would get the podcast, we're going to actually post a vlog. We're going to do a 3-part fall preview vlog. So you're going to get 3 parts, one each week for the following.
Now, did you say there's going to be 3 parts, one each week? You said 3 parts about 5 times.
I did? All right. Well, I hope you got it by now then. Anyway, so just to prepare you for fall, because we want you to be prepared. We have quite a few shows.
Many shows which we thought after we see the trailer of we're not going to want to recommend.
No, after we saw the synopsis, we thought maybe we wouldn't recommend, and then we watched the trailer.
No, we figured after we'd seen the trailer, we would definitely decide it wasn't something we were going to recommend. But we saw the trailers, and things that didn't sound like they'd interest us at all look very intriguing and fun.
Yes, this is the first time, we do the fall preview pretty much every year, and this is the first time that almost all the shows were worth talking about. Mm-hmm. So we have quite a bit to tell you, and we wanted to do it in a vlog so we can show you pictures, and you can see us. You haven't seen us in a long time, unless you're watching.
I need a haircut, by the way.
So remember that in the coming 3 weeks, just look for a vlog instead of a podcast. But if you are subscribed to ladypartstv.com to our mailing list, then you will just be notified of it. So you don't even have to think. So go right now and subscribe.
We make it so easy.
And of course, as always, you can email us at ladypartstv. ladypartstv@gmail.com. And if you want to have your own personal podcast, we will, by the way, possibly have some personal podcasts in the next 3 weeks, even if we don't have the regular podcasts, because we have some Talking Teal podcasts from people that might choose the next 3 weeks to do them. And if you want your own podcast, don't forget, you can always go to our website, ladypartstv.com, hit the button that says support our work, and get your perk. Alrighty then?
Okay, alrighty then.
So I would have said, well, we'll see you in 3 weeks, but we won't. We'll see you next week on the vlog.
Yes, we will.
Thank you for joining us as always.
Great week.
Bye.
Bye.